Welcome, I'm Dave Cote, and you're watching Urban Astro. I've set up Urban Astro as a YouTube site basically to illustrate and to demonstrate and to basically journey with me as I delve into astrophotography here in the Phoenix area. I live in a section of Phoenix called Levine, pretty close to the South Mountains, which are just down over this way. And I live in Bortle 8 skies. Just to the north and to the east of us is the airport and downtown Phoenix. And so I get this beautiful, beautiful gradient light that basically goes from very light over here towards the northeast to slightly darker as you go across the sky. So it makes for some very, very challenging astrophotography attempts and tries, and I actually am able to get some great images, believe it or not, in a Bortle 8 sky. And I came into this hobby basically as a landscape photographer, and so I've been doing landscape photography now for years. And I do art shows, and I have a website online, and I sell, landscape photographs. And so during the COVID lockdown, I decided that I would pick up astrophotography. And so since about, the spring of 2020, I've been exploring more and more of astrophotography. As I've come to find out as a photographer that astrophotography is a very, very different animal than, landscape photography or studio or portraits or senior photography that I had done in the past. Astrophotography is much more technical. It's much more complex. It has similar skill sets and yet very, very different skill sets. And so part of what I am going to try to attempt in this channel is to talk about some of the differences, if you will, between what I would call traditional photography, be it street, landscape, portrait, seniors, studio stuff, and astrophotography. And so one of the goals that I had set out for myself once I decided to take up astrophotography was to try to learn as much as I could about astrophotography. And like I said, astrophotography is rather complex, and there's a lot of pieces to it. There's a lot of getting everything to work in such a way that you're able to achieve the kind of images that you're looking to achieve. And it's not as easy as it looks like at first blush. And so as I began to learn more and more and more about astrophotography, as I began to practice and develop those skills, I began to realize that really part of my goals in doing astrophotography would be to try to automate the process as much as I possibly could, especially the acquisition side of it all, because there's so much technology involved. There's so many pieces and parts involved. It's not like landscapes where you have a tripod and a camera and a lens, and it's you interacting with the landscape and you going around and trying to find the best composition. In this case, you're using very complex software with very unique kind of cameras with unique kind of feature sets, and you're trying to capture very, very not very bright objects, very large, not very bright objects that are millions and millions and millions of light years away. And you're trying to do this in a light polluted sky. And you can see that already just me just trying to define what the parameters of all this is, you can see that it gets very, very unwieldy very, very quickly. And so I knew early on as I was going through this, spending night after night after night, struggling with the equipment, struggling with learning the concepts, struggling to try to understand, and struggling to try to in some way make sense out of this hobby, that I knew early on that I would want to automate the process as much as possible. That really the big secret in astrophotography is really the processing side of it. That's really kind of where a lot of decisions get made that typically for like a landscape photographer are done up front, and then the processing is just merely bringing to life what you had envisioned when you were interacting with the landscape. In this particular instance, you know, you still got framing decisions that you're going to have to make. There's still some compositional decisions that you have to make. But at the end of the day, it's largely dependent on your processing skills and what it is that you're trying to work with. And so it gets really kind of interesting really, really fast. And so that's pretty much what this channel is going to be dedicated towards, is a photographer, in my case a landscape photographer, picking up astrophotography, learning the tricks of the trade, learning a whole new set of vocabulary, learning a whole new set of skills, dealing with similar and yet very different kinds of issues, and trying to get it all to work together in such a way that I can automate the process as much as I possibly can. And you put all that into a big pot and stir that up, and you have Urban Astro. And so I welcome you and thank you for watching. And it's going to be a great journey. It's been a great journey thus far. I've learned a lot, and I hope to convey some of what I've learned to you all. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos from a lot of astrophotographers who have shared their experiences and their knowledge, and essentially I'm going to join that process in sharing my experiences and my knowledge and the things that I've picked up. And my guess is I'm going to learn a lot of things, and I'm going to hopefully unlearn some things that need to be unlearned, as we always do, and just try to improve and become a better astrophotographer. And so again, thank you for watching and joining me on this journey, and together we can see and produce some beautiful images of some of the most incredible things in the deep sky. Again, thank you and welcome to Urban Astro.